So I think the first thing that we have to look at is why is the leader doing what they're doing? I think motivation really matters. So we've sort of been cursed and blessed at the same time with Machiavelli's The Prince. It's a fantastic book. It's very small. It's a quick read. And the reason I say cursed and blessed is he provides us with incredible insights. And first of all, it's worth pointing out that he didn't create all of the insights. There were a series of books written way before Machiavelli they're called Mirrors for Princes. It's basically a book giving advice to a leader on what good leadership is. And we know Machiavelli read a bunch of those. Some of the people that were writing them were people like Nizam al-Mulk. In other words, he was reading a bunch of Muslim literature about what good leadership was, and then he synthesized it into The Prince.
What with the European always hiding their sources?
I mean, not every European does,
No.
but a bunch of them do. We know, for example, that Sir Isaac Newton was stealing his material. Ibn al-Haytham was doing calculus, and then somehow Sir Isaac Newton invents calculus 600 years later. Like, I don't understand how that is
Out of the
possible.
blue.
It's amazing. So, yeah, there's a problem with that. I've noticed Germans tend to cite Muslim scholars when they're... So,
Yeah.
for example, Husserl, the German philosopher, if you look at his bibliography, he has Ibn Sina and Ibn al-Haytham in there. And that's where I'll just be honest, that's where I discovered Ibn Sina and Ibn al-Haytham. I had never been taught about them.
German always different. Even in Orientalism, their school was different than the English and French schools.
Absolutely. And I think part of this was that they had a different relationship to the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah.
They were much more open, in part probably because Vienna was almost conquered twice. And they're like, oh. But in 1700, when the Prussian state was created, because it was the Kingdom of Brandenburg now became the Kingdom of Prussia, one of the things the Germans decided was that they needed to have higher quality soldiers. So they actually sent their officers to train with the Janissaries to learn Turkish military strategy. And then when we think of German military strategy, we forget that they learned a bunch from the Ottoman Empire.
Back to leadership and Prophet Muhammad ﷺ.
So Machiavelli's
Motivation.
So Machiavelli says in chapter 18 that at the end of the day, a leader needs to only care about gaining more power. That the only thing they should be doing is gaining more power. And he actually explicitly says, don't be merciful, don't be just, don't be pious. These things get in your way. You should only appear to be those things, and only do those things when it's convenient to you and it doesn't take away from your power. And the reason I'm saying that Machiavelli is a blessing and a curse at the same time is, I mean, there is a logic to that, but I think that logic is flawed. And the reason I'm saying that is because when we think of the great leaders of the world, they're not those guys, right? It is obvious that the Prophet Muhammad wasn't doing this because he was trying to enrich himself or make himself more powerful. He had a cause that he believed in. He had people that he believed in. And he even had moments of doubt, like at Badr. He's praying over and over again. And finally, Abu Bakr goes, you've prayed enough. If God's going to take care of us, let's go. We need to fight. And he does. And he surrenders to the moment. And the next thing you know, it's a glorious victory. But it's clear that the type of risks that he takes and the decisions that he makes, he's not thinking about his power. He's thinking about his cause. Cyrus the Great is that. It's obvious that he's thinking about his cause. So I think one of the problems that we have with leadership today is most of the leaders on the planet have sacrificed the cause because they want to increase their power. Like, they may not be living in giant mansions necessarily. It might not be a wealth thing, but the obsession with power for the sake of power is in the stake. Having said that, there's got to be something else going on. And the reason I'm saying that is, if I could do a Kissinger on you. For the record, I'm not a fan of Kissinger, but if you ask me who the greatest leaders in the last 150 years were, I wouldn't get very many that are alive today. I have a few. but not many. And most of them, I'm guessing because I haven't done this exercise, but I bet most of them would be from the 50s and the 60s, maybe a couple in the 70s.
Mhm.
In other words, there was a period of time on the planet in memory's time period, not mine necessarily or yours, but there are people I will remember these folk that there was some really amazing leadership, like Tito of Yugoslavia or Nehru of India. They pulled off some really amazing successes. Sukarno of Indonesia. There's nobody has anything to show for it today, right? We have Yugoslavia doesn't exist, and Indonesia is stable, but India is throwing away its democracy and has become religiously intolerant, which is such a setback for the world's largest democracy. So something is clearly wrong with the time period we're in. Um, and I guess this is my failure. I can't tell you like the exact formula of what else is missing in the leadership today, other than I think there's people have lost sight of what's important. And what's important is the people that you rule over.
And no one is certain about anything anymore.
That's true too. But I actually embrace a lack of certainty. One of the problems that we have, I think, as a species, is we love certainty.
Yeah.
It gives us a sense of meaning, groundedness. It gives us a sense of like roots in the ground, like we're a tree. And there's a part of me that likes that. Having said that, as I keep getting older, I keep discovering how I'm wrong, and I keep finding out that something I was certain about was wrong. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I have to rethink this. And so now I think there's something wonderful about doubt. I love doubt. I embrace doubt. And so, you know, like a person comes to me and says, oh, you got this fact wrong. I want to get it right. So I'm open to that, and I will change what I believe based on the evidence.
Let's stay in this personal level. Roy, you've accomplished a good reputation now in Muslim countries and Arab world as an unbiased historian, global historian. And I think many people want to know more about you, about your upbringing. Where did you, where were you born first, and how your interest in history came about?
Okay, so